The morning sun was just rising over Seoul when the sky turned dark. Captain Yu-jin was drinking her coffee at the orbital monitoring station when her screen started flashing red warnings. She set down her cup and leaned forward to read the data. "Admiral Tae-min, you need to see this," she called across the command center. Her voice was calm, but there was something strange in it. Admiral Tae-min walked over to her station. He was a tall man with gray hair who had spent 30 years watching the skies for threats. He had seen meteor showers, space debris, and solar storms, but he had never seen anything like this. "What am I looking at, Captain?" he asked. "Ships, sir. Really big ships. They just appeared out of nowhere above every major city on Earth." Through the large windows of the Seoul Defense Station, they could see it clearly. A massive alien ship hung in the sky above the city. It was easily 10 kilometers long and looked like a dark metal mountain floating in the air. Smaller ships surrounded it like angry wasps around their nest. Officer Hyun-woo ran over to them. "Sir, we're getting reports from Tokyo, New York, London, and Mumbai. The same thing is happening everywhere. Giant alien ships just appeared." Admiral Tae-min nodded slowly. "Any communication attempts?" "That's the weird part, sir," said Officer So-young from her communication station. "They're broadcasting something, but it sounds like they're trying to scare us." "Put it on the main speakers," ordered the Admiral. The command center filled with a deep, threatening voice. It spoke in perfect Korean, which was somehow more unsettling than if it had been in an alien language. "Primitive beings of the third planet," the voice boomed. "You stand before the might of the Galactic Dominion Empire. We are High Commander Vex Thara of the Conquest Fleet. Your world has been selected for integration into our glorious empire." "Captain." Yu-jin raised an eyebrow. The alien was talking like a character from a bad science fiction movie. The voice continued. "You will witness the power that has crushed 1,000 worlds. Civilizations that tried to resist us now serve as warnings. To others, their cities burn eternal as monuments to our strength. Your weapons are toys. Your defenses are paper. Your courage will break like glass." Officer Jin-A covered her mouth with her hand, but a small sound escaped. It sounded suspiciously like a giggle. "We have seen species 10 times more advanced. Then you bow before our might," the alien commander went on. "We have watched proud warriors weep like children when they see our true power. Surrender now, and you will be spared the fate that befell the Crystalline Confederation. They thought they were strong too. That did it." Captain Yu-jin burst out laughing. It started as a small chuckle, but within seconds she was laughing so hard she had to hold on to her desk. The sound was infectious. Officer Hyun-woo started snickering. Then So-young began giggling. Soon the entire command center was filled with the sound of people trying not to laugh and failing. Did he just threaten us with eternal burning cities? Yu-jin managed to say between laughs, "Does he think this is a comic book?" Admiral Tae-min tried to maintain his serious expression, but even he was fighting a smile. "Captain, please maintain professional decorum." "Sir, I'm sorry, but listen to him," Yu-jin said, wiping tears from her eyes. "He sounds like my nephew when he's pretending to be a supervillain." The alien voice had stopped, apparently confused by the lack of terror from Earth. Officer Jin-A was trying to compose herself. "Sir, should we respond?" "Yes," said Admiral Tae-min. "Put me through to all Earth defense centers and patch it through to global communications." The communication channels opened. Admiral Tae-min could see that defense centers around the world were dealing with similar situations. In Tokyo, General Yamamoto was shaking his head in disbelief. In London, Air Marshal Thompson was actually smiling. In New York, General Rodriguez looked like he was trying very hard not to laugh. "This is Admiral Tae-min of Earth Defense Command," he began. "To the alien commander above Seoul, we have received your message." There was a pause, then the booming alien voice returned. "Good. You understand the gravity of your situation. Prepare your surrender documents. Actually, said Admiral Tae-min, we have a question. Are you serious? Silence from the alien ship. Captain Yu-jin couldn't help herself. She leaned toward the microphone. Because honestly, that whole speech sounded like something my 10-year-old cousin would say when he's playing with action figures. The laughter from the command center was picked up by the open microphone and broadcast across the planet. Within minutes, every news network on Earth was playing the audio of humans laughing at their first contact with aliens. You dare mock the Galactic Dominion Empire. The alien voice thundered, now sounding more confused than threatening. We're not mocking you, said Yu-jin, still chuckling. It's just that your threats sound exactly like every bad movie we've ever made about alien invasions. Did you practice that speech in a mirror? High Commander Vexthara, aboard his flagship above Seoul, turned to his second-in-command. Sub-Commander Zefkal had served in 50 conquest campaigns, but he had never seen anything like this. Sir, said Zefkal carefully, the humans appear to be amused by our standard intimidation protocol. I can hear that, replied Vexthara coldly. In 50,000 years of galactic conquest, no species has ever responded to our threats with laughter. Down. In the Seoul Command Center, Officer So Young was monitoring alien communications. Sir, I think we broke them. Their communications are going crazy up there. Admiral Tae-min nodded. Captain Yu-jin, you may have just changed the course of human history. Sir, I couldn't help it. They're just so dramatic. It's like they learned how to threaten people from watching our old war movies. The alien voice came back, now sounding less confident. You will regret your insolence, humans. The Galactic Dominion Empire does not tolerate disrespect. Look, said Yu-jin into the microphone, we're not trying to disrespect you. It's just that we've been threatening each other for thousands of years. We've gotten pretty good at it. Your speech was nice, but it needs work. Around the world, humans were gathering around televisions and radios, listening to their representatives have the most casual first-contact conversation in history. Social media exploded with memes and jokes about the alien threats. High Commander Vexthara stared at the planet below. In his long military career, he had seen fear, desperation, anger, and even defiance, but never amusement. The humans were actually enjoying this. What do we do now, sir? Asked Sub-Commander Zefkal. Vexthara's pride was hurt, but his curiosity was growing. We show them why 1,000 worlds fear our name. High Commander Vexthara paced the bridge of his massive warship. His armor clinked with each step as he moved between the control stations. The bridge crew watched him nervously. In 300 years of service, none of them had ever seen their commander this frustrated. Sub-Commander Zefkal, Vexthara called out. Prepare the terror demonstration. We will target the asteroid mining facility near their third moon. Zefkal hesitated. Sir, our scans show that facility has humans working on it. I know, replied Vexthara coldly. When they see their people vaporized, they will understand that we are not joking. Down on mining station Delta 7, engineer Dong Hyun was checking the morning shift reports. The asteroid facility was small but important. It provided rare metals that Earth needed for its growing space program. Dong Hyun had been running the station for 5 years and loved his job. His assistant Jae-sung ran into the control room. Boss, you need to see the news. There are alien ships everywhere, and they're making threats. Dong Hyun looked up from his reports. Aliens? Real aliens? Yeah, and they're really angry about something. They keep talking about conquest and burning cities. Dong Hyun laughed. Sounds like they need to find a better hobby. Worker Eunji came running in from the mining tunnels. Dong Hyun, the aliens, are powering up some kind of weapon. It's pointed right at us. How do you know that? Asked Dong Hyun. Because there's a really big glowing thing on their ship and it's getting brighter. Dong Haiyan walked to the observation window. Sure enough, one of the smaller alien ships was floating nearby. A section of its hull was glowing with blue energy that was getting more intense by the minute. "Well," said Dong Haiyan calmly, "I guess. They want to show us their weapons." Jae-sung stared at him. "Boss, shouldn't we evacuate or something?" "Why? If they wanted to kill us, they would have done it already. They're probably just trying to scare us like they did everyone else." Yoonji joined them at the window. "You know what? I bet their weapon isn't even that impressive. Remember when we had to blast through that iron asteroid last month? That explosion was huge." "Good point," said Dong Haiyan. "Hey Jae-sung, want to make a bet?" "I say their weapon makes a smaller explosion than our mining charges." "You're on," replied Jae-sung. "But I think it'll be bigger. It's alien technology after all." Eunji pulled out her phone. "I'm recording this. If we survive, this will be the best video ever." On the alien ship, High Commander Vex Thara watched the humans through his targeting system. He expected to see them running in panic or trying to evacuate. Instead, they were standing at the window watching his ship and talking casually. "Sir," reported the weapons officer, "the terror beam is fully charged." "Fire," ordered Vex Thara. The blue energy beam shot from the alien ship and struck the asteroid. The explosion was impressive by most standards. It created a bright flash and sent chunks of rock flying in all directions. The mining station shook but remained intact. Down in the control room, the three humans watched the explosion with interest. "That's it," said Dong Haiyan, sounding disappointed. "I was expecting something more dramatic." Jae-sung laughed. "You win the bet, boss. Our mining explosions are way bigger than that." Yoonji was still recording. "This is amazing. The aliens just used their super weapon, and it's weaker than our regular work equipment." Dong Haiyan activated the station's communication system. "This is Mining Station Delta 7 to alien ship. Thanks for the light show, but we've seen better fireworks at New Year's parties." Back on Earth, diplomat Naeun was trying to establish formal communication with the aliens. She had been chosen to represent humanity because she spoke 12 languages and had experience with difficult negotiations. However, she was having trouble taking the aliens seriously. "High Commander Vex Thara," she said into the communication. "Device, we appreciate your interest in our planet, but your approach is a bit old-fashioned." The alien voice came through the speakers, sounding even more frustrated than before. "Old-fashioned? We represent the most advanced civilization in the galaxy." Naeun bit her lip to keep from smiling. "I'm sure you do. But your intimidation tactics are exactly like the ones humans used thousands of years ago. We've moved past that stage of development. You dare compare the mighty Galactic Dominion Empire to your primitive ancestors?" "Well, yes," said Naeun. "You're basically doing the same thing ancient warlords did. Show up with a big army, make scary threats, demand surrender. It's very traditional." She had to cover her mouth to hide a giggle. The alien commander sounded exactly like her nephew when he was having a tantrum. "Your species will learn to fear us," declared Vex Thara. "I'm sure some of us are scared," replied Naeun diplomatically. "But most of us are just curious. We've never met aliens before, so this is exciting for us." "Exciting?" The alien voice rose in pitch. "We are offering you the choice between submission and destruction." "That's very dramatic," said Naeun. "But we were hoping for something more like cultural exchange or scientific cooperation." On his ship, High Commander Vex Thara turned to Sub-Commander Zefkal. "Are they mocking us again?" "I don't think so, sir. They seem genuinely confused by our methods." "How can they be confused? This is how conquest works. We show our power. They surrender in terror. We add their world to the empire." "Perhaps," said Zefkal carefully, "this species works differently." Vex Thara glared at him. "There is no difference. Fear is universal. All species understand the threat of death. Meanwhile, news reports from around Earth were showing similar reactions. In London, a group of school children were drawing pictures of the alien ships. In Tokyo, scientists were excitedly discussing the propulsion systems they could see on the alien vessels. In New York, comedians were already making jokes about the alien threats. The global mood was not fear or panic. It was curiosity mixed with amusement. Dr. Chang Min, a military analyst in Seoul, was giving an interview on television. The aliens seem to be using psychological warfare techniques that stopped being effective on humans centuries ago. He explained, "They're trying to rule through fear, but humans have experience with much worse threats." The reporter asked, "What do you mean by worse threats?" "Well, we've survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and asteroid impacts. We've faced extinction multiple times and always found a way to survive. These aliens are threatening us with things we've already overcome." Dr. Hai Jin, a xenobiologist, was also being interviewed. "From a scientific perspective, this is fascinating. The aliens clearly have advanced technology, but their understanding of psychology seems limited to fear-based control. It suggests their own society might be very different from ours." High Commander Vexthara was monitoring Earth's communications. Every report he heard made him more confused and angry. How could a species be so calm about conquest? How could they find humor in threats that had terrified civilizations across the galaxy? "Sir," said Sub-Commander Zefkal, "perhaps we should try a different approach." "No," replied Vexthara firmly. "They will learn to fear us. Prepare the next demonstration." High Commander Vexthara stood in his private chamber staring at holographic displays of conquered worlds. Each image showed the same pattern: arrival, demonstration of power, immediate surrender. Thousands of civilizations had followed this exact sequence, but not the humans. Sub-Commander Zefkal entered the chamber quietly. "Sir, the Psychological Warfare Division has prepared the historical conquest footage. They believe showing the humans what happened to other worlds will finally break their resistance." Vexthara nodded grimly. "Begin the broadcast. Show them the fate of the Crystalline Confederation. Show them the burning cities of Zephyros Prime. Let them see what happens to those who do not take the Empire seriously." The transmission began broadcasting to every screen on Earth. The footage was truly horrific. It showed beautiful alien cities being destroyed, proud warriors being defeated, entire civilizations bowing in submission to the Empire. The images were designed to inspire absolute terror. In Seoul, military analyst Chang Min was watching the broadcast with his research team. Instead of horror, his face showed intense interest. "Fascinating," he said, making notes on his tablet. "Look at their attack patterns. They're using fear as their primary weapon, but their actual military tactics are quite inefficient." His assistant, Junho, looked confused. "Sir, shouldn't we be worried about those cities being destroyed?" "Of course it's terrible what happened to those civilizations," replied Chang Min. "But look at how they're doing it. They're wasting enormous amounts of energy on dramatic displays instead of strategic targets. It's like they care more about looking scary than being effective." Dr. Hai Jin, the xenobiologist, was analyzing the footage from a different angle. "The interesting thing is what this tells us about their society. They seem to believe that fear is the only way to control people. That suggests they've never experienced cooperation or voluntary compliance." "What do you mean?" asked her colleague. "Dr. Kang Ho, think about it. If you need to terrify every species you meet, it means you don't know how to work with them peacefully. These aliens might be more afraid than we are." Across the city, historian Dayun was preparing for a live television interview. She had been studying the alien footage and comparing it to human history. When the camera started rolling, she was ready. "Professor Dayun," said the news anchor, The aliens have shown us terrible images of conquered worlds. Should humanity be afraid? Dayun shook her head calmly. Honestly, I've seen worse in our own history books. What the aliens are doing is nothing new. They're just bullies with better technology. But surely their advanced weapons make them more dangerous than historical threats. Not really. Humans have survived ice ages that lasted thousands of years. We've survived plagues that killed half our population. We've survived world wars where we used our most terrible weapons against each other. And we always found ways to laugh about it afterward. She pulled up historical images on her tablet. Look at this. During the London Blitz, when German bombs were falling every night, what did the British do? They made jokes. They wrote funny songs about Hitler. They turned air raid shelters into social clubs. The news anchor looked surprised. You're saying humor helps humans survive? Exactly. When humans face terrible situations, we make jokes. It's how we cope. It's how we stay human. These aliens don't understand that about us. High Commander Vex Thara was monitoring the Earth broadcasts. He could not believe what he was hearing. The humans were comparing his mighty empire to their own primitive conflicts. They were actually criticizing his conquest techniques. Sir, reported Communications Officer Veltar, the humans are discussing our psychological warfare methods on their information networks. They're calling them outdated and ineffective. Vex Thara's face turned dark blue with anger. Show me. The screens displayed social media posts from around Earth. Humans were sharing jokes about the alien threats. They were making funny pictures of the alien ships. Children were drawing cartoons of the Empire's warriors looking silly. One post from a human named Jin Wu read, "These aliens sound like my boss when he's having a bad day. All threats, no actual solutions." Another from a human called Su Min said, "My grandmother is scarier than these aliens. At least when she threatens you, she follows through." "They're mocking us," whispered Sub-Commander Zefkal. "I can see that," replied Vex Thara coldly. Dr. Chang Min was giving another interview, this time with military experts from around the world. "The problem with the alien approach is that they're fighting the last war," he explained. "They're using tactics that worked on other species, but humans are different." General Martinez from Mexico City nodded in agreement. "We've been studying their ship formations. They're impressive, but they're designed for intimidation rather than actual combat effectiveness." "What do you mean?" asked the interviewer. "Their ships are arranged to look scary, not to provide tactical advantages. It's like they're more interested in putting on a show than winning a battle." General Okafor from Nigeria added, "In my experience, anyone who talks that much about how scary they are usually isn't as dangerous as they claim." The conversation was being broadcast live across the globe. Humans everywhere were nodding in agreement. The aliens were beginning to look less like terrifying conquerors and more like insecure bullies. On the alien flagship, Vex Thara was receiving reports from his psychological warfare specialists. "Sir," reported Chief Mindbreaker Kefver, "our standard terror protocols are having no effect. The humans seem to process fear differently than other species." "How so?" "When we show them images of destruction, they analyze them tactically. When we make threats, they compare us to their own historical figures. When we try to intimidate them, they make jokes." Vex Thara slammed his fist on the control panel. "There must be something that frightens them. We've studied their communications." "Sir, they do experience fear, but they use humor to overcome it. It's some kind of psychological defense mechanism we've never encountered." Sub-Commander Zefkal was reading reports from the fleet. "Sir, the crew is starting to ask questions. Some of them are wondering why we haven't just conquered the planet already." "Because," replied Vex Thara, "conquest without submission is meaningless. The Empire rules through fear. If we cannot make them afraid, we cannot truly rule them." Back on Earth, Comedian turned commentator Wu Jin was hosting a late-night talk show. "You know what I love about these aliens?" he said to his audience. "They're so committed to being scary. It's like they practiced in front of a mirror. We are the mighty empire. Fear us. Tremble before our power." Did they take a class in dramatic threatening? The audience laughed loudly. Wu Jin continued, "I bet they have a manual. Chapter 1. How to sound menacing. Chapter 2. Proper threat posture. Chapter 3. What to do when nobody takes you seriously." The laughter was infectious. Even the camera crew was chuckling. "Seriously. Though," said Wu Jin, "these aliens seem nice enough. They could have just destroyed us, but instead they're trying to convince us to surrender. That's actually kind of polite." High Commander Vesthara watched the comedy show with growing disbelief. The humans were not just unafraid of him, they were entertained by him. "Sub-Commander," he said quietly, "in 50,000 years of galactic conquest, has any species ever found us amusing?" "No, sir," replied Zefkal, "never." "Then we are dealing with something unprecedented." Vesthara looked out at the blue planet below. For the first time in his long military career, he was not sure what to do next. Ambassador Minho walked into the United Nations building in New York with a smile on his face. He had been chosen to represent all of humanity in negotiations with the Galactic Empire. It was the biggest diplomatic challenge in human history. But he felt strangely calm about it. Dr. The Gene, an expert in alien psychology, walked beside him. "Are you sure about this plan, Ambassador? It's quite unusual." "That's exactly why it might work," replied Minho. "These aliens expect us to be afraid. Let's give them something they've never seen before." Comedian Wu Jin joined them in the elevator. "I still can't believe you asked me to be part of this diplomatic team. You understand humor better than anyone," said Minho. "And humor seems to be our secret weapon against these aliens." The three humans entered the main assembly hall where representatives from every nation on Earth were waiting. The alien communication channel was already open. High Commander Vesthara's voice filled the room, sounding more frustrated than threatening. "Humans of Earth," the alien commander began, "you have one final chance to surrender before we demonstrate our true power." Ambassador Minho stepped up to the microphone. "High Commander Vesthara, thank you for your patience. We have discussed your offer, and we would like to make a counter-proposal." There was silence from the alien ship. This was clearly not what they expected. "A counter-proposal?" asked Vesthara, sounding confused. "Yes," replied Minho cheerfully. "We propose a cultural challenge. If your empire can make humanity stop laughing at your threats within one standard, Galactic Week, Earth will surrender peacefully." "And if you fail?" asked Sub-Commander Zefkal, who was also listening. "Then you leave Earth alone, and we get to ask you some questions about your civilization. We're very curious about how you built such a large empire." Dr. The Jin leaned toward the microphone. "We're also interested in studying your psychology. Your approach to conflict resolution is fascinating from an academic perspective." High Commander Vesthara discussed this with his command staff for several minutes. Finally, he responded, "You are offering to surrender if we can successfully intimidate you?" "Exactly," said Minho. "But you have to do it properly. No destroying cities or killing people. Just pure psychological warfare. Make us so afraid that we stop finding you amusing." Wu Jin added, "Think of it as a performance challenge. You have 1 week to scare us into submission using only words and demonstrations." The alien commander was quiet for a long time. His pride was wounded by the human laughter, but this seemed like an easy way to restore his reputation. How hard could it be to frighten a primitive species? "Very well," said Vesthara. "We accept your challenge. Prepare to witness terror beyond your imagination." "Great," said Minho. "We'll set up cameras so everyone on Earth can watch." This should be educational for both our species. The challenge began immediately. High Commander Vexthara brought out his most terrifying warriors. Massive aliens in dark armor appeared on screens around the world. They roared and brandished weapons that could cut through metal like paper. Scientist Kyung Soo was watching. From his laboratory in Seoul, instead of being frightened, he started taking notes. "Fascinating musculature," he said to his research team. "Look at those biomechanical enhancements. They must have incredible physical strength." He started live streaming his observations. This warrior appears to be from a high-gravity world. Based on his bone density, notice how his armor is designed for both protection and intimidation. The spikes serve no tactical purpose. They're purely for psychological effect. Within hours, Kyung-soo's scientific commentary on alien warriors had millions of viewers. People were more interested in learning about alien biology than being afraid of it. The aliens tried different approaches. They brought out massive war beasts with glowing eyes and sharp teeth. The creatures were designed to inspire primal fear. In any species, child psychologist Dr. Sun-hee was watching with her daughter. "Look at the bioluminescent threat display," she explained. "It's like a Christmas tree that's trying to be scary." Her 8-year-old daughter Hyrim giggled. "It looks like the monster from my video game, but not as cool." "Exactly," said Dr. Sun-hee. "Humans have been imagining scary creatures for thousands of years. We've seen worse things in our movies." Social media exploded with comparisons between the alien creatures and various movie monsters, video game characters, and mythological beasts. Humans were rating the aliens on creativity and giving suggestions for improvement. High Commander Vexthara was becoming desperate. He ordered his ships to perform complex battle maneuvers above Earth's major cities. The formations were designed to show the hopelessness of resistance against such organized military power. Military expert General Kim was providing commentary for the news. "Impressive coordination," he noted, "but tactically questionable. They're wasting fuel on fancy flying when they could be positioning for actual strategic advantage." "What would you do differently?" asked the reporter. "Well, if I wanted to actually conquer Earth rather than just look scary, I'd position ships over communication hubs, power plants, and supply lines. Instead, they're doing aerobatics over cities where everyone can see them." Fighter pilot Captain Park was also watching. "Their pilots are skilled, but they're flying like they're in an air show rather than a military operation. It's all flash, no substance." The human military analysis was being broadcast globally. Even children could understand that the aliens were more interested in looking impressive than being effective. On day 3 of the challenge, Vexthara tried psychological horror. He broadcast images of dark alien rituals and spoke about the eternal torment that awaited those who opposed the Empire. Horror. Movie director Lee was interviewed about the alien footage. "It's not bad," he said critically, "but the pacing is off. They're trying too hard to be scary. Good horror is subtle. This is just noise and darkness." "How would you improve it?" asked the interviewer. "Less is more. The fear of the unknown is scarier than showing everything. These aliens need to learn about building suspense." By day 5, even the alien crew was getting frustrated. Sub-Commander Zefkal approached his commander privately. "Sir, perhaps we should consider that this species simply processes fear differently than others." "What do you mean?" asked Vexthara. "They seem to use analysis and humor to overcome fear. When we threaten them, they study us. When we try to scare them, they make jokes. It's not that they're fearless, it's that they have a different response to fear." Vexthara was silent for a moment. "Are you suggesting that our methods are inadequate?" "I'm suggesting that perhaps we've never encountered a species quite like this one." On Earth, Ambassador Minho was preparing for the final day of the challenge. "How do you think they're doing?" he asked Dr. the Jinn. "Poorly," she replied. "They're trying harder each day. But they don't understand that effort isn't the problem. They simply don't know how humans think. Wu Jin was writing material for his show. I almost feel bad for them. They're working so hard to be scary, and we keep treating them like a science documentary. Should we give them some tips? Asked Minho. Maybe after the week is over, said Dr. the Jin. This has been an incredible learning experience for both species. The final day of the challenge arrived with Earth sunrise. High Commander Vesthara stood on his bridge looking down at the blue planet that had become his greatest frustration. In 6 days, his empire had tried every intimidation technique. They knew nothing had worked. Sub-Commander Zeph Call approached him quietly. Sir, the crew is talking. Many of them are asking questions about our methods. What kind of questions? Asked Vesthara, though he suspected he already knew. They want to know why we haven't simply conquered the planet by force. Some are wondering if the humans might be right about our approach being outdated. Vesthara turned to face his second-in-command. Are you questioning the Empire's methods, Sub-Commander? Zeph Call hesitated. Sir, I've been watching the human broadcasts. Their experts have been analyzing our techniques and explaining why they don't work. Some of their points are logical. Explain. Well, they say that ruling through fear only works if people have no choice. But if someone isn't afraid, or if they can think of alternatives, then fear becomes useless. The humans seem to have moved past fear as a primary motivation. On Earth, Ambassador Minho was meeting with his team in the United Nations building. The week-long challenge was almost over, and humanity had successfully maintained their amusement throughout the alien attempts at intimidation. Any word from the aliens today? Asked Dr. the Jin. They've been very quiet, replied Minho. I think they're preparing for one final attempt. Comedian Wu Jin was reviewing footage from the past week. You know, I'm starting to feel bad for them. They're really trying their best, but they just don't understand us. That's the interesting part, said Dr. the Jin. This whole experience has taught us as much about them as about ourselves. They're clearly intelligent and organized, but they seem to have only one tool for solving problems. What do you mean? Asked Minho. They only know how to use fear. When that doesn't work, they just try to be more frightening. They don't seem to know about cooperation, negotiation, or mutual benefit. High Commander Vesthara made his decision. If this was to be his final attempt, he would use the Empire's most terrible threat. He activated the planetary destruction weapon, the massive energy cannon extended from the main ship. It was designed to crack planets in half. No species had ever seen this weapon and failed to surrender immediately. Humans of Earth, Vesthara announced, you have failed to take our warning seriously. Now you will face the ultimate consequence. This weapon can destroy your entire planet. Ambassador Minho looked at the massive weapon through the UN building's windows. It was certainly impressive. The energy buildup was visible as a growing sphere of light that hurt to look at directly. That's quite a weapon, he said calmly into the communication device. How does it work? The question caught Vesthara off guard. How does it work? Yes, we're curious about the technology. Is it a focused gravitational field or some kind of antimatter reaction? Dr. the Jin leaned toward the microphone. From an engineering perspective, the power requirements must be enormous. How do you generate that much energy? Scientist Kyung Soo, who was monitoring from Seoul, added his own questions. Is the weapon reusable or does it require significant recharging time between shots? What kind of safety systems do you have to prevent accidental discharge? High Commander Vesthara stared at his communication panel. These humans were facing a weapon that could destroy their world, and they were asking technical questions about how it worked. You should be terrified, he said, his voice losing some of its commanding tone. Oh, we're definitely concerned, replied Minho, but we're also fascinated. You've built some remarkable technology. We'd love to understand how it works. Historian Dayun's voice came through from another channel. Commander Vexthara, we've been studying your empire's history during this week. You've conquered thousands of worlds, but what do you do after conquest? How do you manage such a large territory? What? Vexthara was completely confused now. Well, continued Dayun, ruling through fear must be exhausting. You have to constantly maintain the threat level, or people might rebel. How do you keep billions of different species in line across thousands of worlds? Sub-Commander Zefkal was listening to this conversation with growing interest. He had never thought about the administrative challenges of the Empire before. How did they manage their territory? Sir, he said quietly to Vexthara, she raises a good point. Most of our resources go to maintain control rather than actually building anything. Silence, ordered Vexthara, but his voice lacked conviction. Ambassador Minho continued the conversation. Commander, we're impressed by your technology and organization, but we're curious about your society. Do your people enjoy their lives? Are they happy? Happy? Repeated Vexthara. What does happiness have to do with running an empire? Everything, replied Dr. the Jinn. Happy people are more productive, more creative, and more loyal. They contribute willingly rather than being forced to comply. Wu Jin added, plus, life is more fun when people aren't afraid all the time. Don't you ever want to just relax and enjoy yourself? On the alien bridge, several crew members were listening to this conversation with amazement. The concept of enjoying life while serving the Empire was completely foreign to them. Engine. Specialist Korthak turned to his colleague. Do you think? The humans are right. Could work be enjoyable? I don't know, replied Weapons Officer Milvar. I've never thought about whether I enjoy my duties. I just follow orders. Sub-Commander Zefkal made a decision that would change his life. He activated a private communication channel to Earth. Ambassador Minho, he said quietly, this is Sub-Commander Zefkal. I would like to ask you some questions about your society. Of course, replied Minho. What would you like to know? How do you motivate people without fear? How do you get them to work together willingly? Dr. the Jinn answered, we give people choices. We show them how cooperation benefits everyone. We try to make sure everyone has a chance to contribute their talents and be recognized for their efforts. And people actually cooperate this way? Most of the time, yes. When people feel valued and respected, they want to help. When they feel threatened, they only help because they have to. Zefkal was quiet for a moment. In 300 years of service, I have never felt valued, only useful. High Commander Vexthara realized that he was losing control of the situation. His own crew was talking to the humans about philosophy and social organization. His ultimate weapon was charged and ready, but somehow the threat felt meaningless. Sub-Commander Zefkal, he called out, return to your duties. Sir, replied Zefkal, I request permission to continue learning about human society. Permission. Denied, but other crew members were now asking their own questions. Engineer Nethala wanted to know about human creativity. Pilot Vextum was curious about human entertainment. Even the normally silent navigation officer Pel Rix was asking about human music. Ambassador Minho sensed the changing mood. Commander Vexthara, your crew seems interested in cultural exchange. Why don't we call this challenge a draw? We'll answer their questions, and maybe you can teach us about your technology. This is not how conquest works, said Vexthara weakly. Maybe that's the problem, replied Minho gently. Maybe conquest isn't the only way to build relationships between species. Sub-Commander Zefkal stood up on the bridge. Sir, I formally request permission to remain here and study human society. As do I, said Engineer Nethala. And I, added Pilot Vextum. One by one, crew members throughout the fleet began requesting permission to stay and learn from the humans. High Commander Vexthara looked around his bridge and realized that everything he had believed about leadership and control was falling apart. But for the first time in his long military career, his crew looked genuinely excited about something. He powered down the planetary destruction weapon. "Very well," he said quietly. "We will establish a cultural exchange. But this changes nothing about the Empire's power." "Of course not," agreed Ambassador Minho diplomatically. "We're just curious neighbors." 6 months later, Engineer Dong Hyen was working on Mining Station Delta 7 with his new partner, former Sub-Commander Zefkal. The alien had proven to be an excellent engineer once he stopped trying to intimidate people. "You know," said Dong Hyen, as they watched Earth's sunset through the station window, "in all my years of mining asteroids, I never thought I'd be working with someone from across the galaxy." Zefkal nodded thoughtfully. "In 300 years of military service, this is the first time I've ever found joy in my work." "That's what happens when you build things instead of just breaking them," replied Dong Hyen with a smile. Far above them, the remnants of the Galactic Empire fleet remained in orbit, but they were no longer an invasion force. They had become students, learning that there were other ways to live besides fear. And for the first time in 50,000 years, the galaxy was hearing a new sound from the Empire's ships: laughter.